Hello, this is Kristen Brenner from Integrity Mind Body, and I'm so happy that you are joining me today for Sattva Sunday. I began Sattva Sunday as a way for us to reconnect to our own inner strength, our own ability to kind of get the healing energy going within our body, mind, and spirit. And I'm really excited to be here today with a new practice. So Sattva is one of the three gunas. It is all three gunas are necessary for life in yogic philosophy. And when Rajas and Tamas are in balance, then Sattva is present. It is able to kind of burst forth. And Sattva is really the balancing force. It's the quality of light or discernment, or even some would say wisdom. In Ayurveda, which is the science of yoga, the sattvic state is the key to health. So as I kind of study and explore these yogic concepts, while at the same time studying and exploring things like polyvagal theory and the nervous system, I can't help but to see this clear connection between the three gunas and our nervous system as we know it today. And I find that to be a pretty exciting concept, because I think that the more that we connect to what the ancients knew, the more that we can see how really brilliant they were. They were really connected to what happens inside the human body. So my goal with Sattva Sundays is to really help bring the nervous system back into a state of balance using the tools of yoga, mindfulness, and self-compassion. So through these practices, we let the stress response, or this sympathetic nervous system response, which is also called fight, flight, or freeze, we let that response know that it can settle. We create some safety for the body, the mind, and the spirit, which allows the sympathetic nervous system, this is the rest and digest system, to come back online in a helpful way. We know that taking care of ourselves in this way can really create new neural pathways. This is how we build the habit of self-care. And it's incredibly important to our overall health, including our mental, spiritual, and physical health. So today I am super excited. We're going to be exploring a little mini yin practice. I have really been exploring Yin Yoga as a way to deal with some experiences that I'm having in my body that have been really creating some pain for me in the last few years. And the reason why I think that Yin is the key for me is because Yin gets into, it helps us really work with the fascial tissues of the body. And fascia is this kind of really intricate network that goes over the entire body. It kind of encapsulates the muscles and tendons, but it also weaves through the muscular layers. And there are different layers of fascia, and it really, more and more, the more research that is done on it, the more it's believed to be important to our overall health. So this is really just another way into the parasympathetic nervous system. We can connect to this interoceptive sense. This is our ability to really tune into how we're feeling internally. And it is a really important part of our perception of how we view ourselves in connection to the world around us. So interoception has to do with how we feel internally. So it can be things as simple as hunger, thirst. It can also be emotional states, happy, sad, angry. It can be feeling connected or disconnected. And it is really helps our nervous system to kind of know, where does it go? What does it do? So as we practice Yin Yoga, we kind of make these shapes, and we learn to kind of play a little bit with the edge. And I've learned some new things about Yin Yoga recently as I'm participating in a teacher training around it, and I'm super excited. And I love this because even though I think that I've been doing these practices for so long and I really, I have this, this positive relationship with myself and my own striving. I know my striving well. I work with it. What I discovered in this teacher training, which really shifted things for me, is that in Yin Yoga, there is this kind of playing with the edge, but we don't have to go all the way to the edge. In fact, we probably shouldn't go all the way to the edge. And so we really think about what would it be like for us to come to 50 or 60% of where our edge is, because we're going to hold the posture for a little bit longer. And so in Yin Yoga, there are these kind of simple guidelines. Number one is we take the shape. Number two is we find that 50% of the most we could do in this posture. So in an active yoga class, we might take a forward fold, and maybe we've been doing this practice for a long time and our head can, come all the way down, almost touching our knees. We don't have to come that far in this practice, in this Yin practice. We just have to play with what does 50 to 60% feel like for us. And it's a really interesting place to be. It really forces us to listen and to tune in. And this is what I love about this practice. So once we find that 50 to 60%, we find stillness. We hold the postures for 2 to 5 minutes, depending on the posture. And then we come out of the shape in a very slow, mindful, and gentle way. Between the shapes that we take in Yin Yoga, we take a moment to really feel the resonance of that position. So we let ourselves sit with it before we rush on to the next thing. So that is my intro to Yin. We're going to do 4 really simple shapes today. This is going to be a very restful practice, but we will play a tiny bit with an edge, hopefully in a supportive way. So what you will need for this practice, depending on what you have, I'm going to be using a rectangular bolster, which I'll come off of now so you can see. So this is my regular rectangular, large rectangle bolster. If you don't have one of those, a stack of blankets that is about the same thickness as this, and I would say that's about 8 inches. So a stack of blankets, if I were using yoga blankets folded like this, maybe 2 to 3. We're also going to need 2 yoga blocks. So I want to say standard size. They're standard for my area where I'm practicing, but we might have different blocks in different places around the world. And I'm also going to be using, at the very end, this round bolster as support in Shavasana. If you don't have one of these, you can use a rectangle. You can also use blankets, and you can even use those blocks. If you don't have blocks, you can use blankets, and I'll show you how to do that. So to start off, I'm going to put these aside. Take just a simple blanket. Yoga blanket is fine, or any other kind of blanket that you have in your home, and set it down. You'll come to rest. So this is just a simple way to begin the practice called Constructive Rest. So the head is supported, but we don't need to really support the neck underneath. We're just letting the neck be at its natural curve, and just notice what's happening with your chin. See if you can really let it be in its natural alignment. Palms can be face up or down, whichever you prefer. Feet can stay flat on the ground. Knees are bent. And just beginning to settle in to sensation in the body. Noticing what you are feeling. Letting yourself settle into what it is that you feel right now in this moment. deep breaths. Feeling the ground there to support you and to hold you up. Noticing the areas where you feel the body connecting to the ground underneath you, connecting to those touch points. Just scanning, what does that feel like through the body? And maybe noticing the areas of negative space where the body does not touch, where the curves of the body lift it quite naturally off the ground. Maybe at the wrist, at the low back, maybe the arch of the foot. And settle into the sense of the breath in the body. What is it like to be in this moment of stillness right now? And just another 3 breaths here. Taking whatever kind of breath feels right for you right now. So perhaps they're just 3 kind of normal breaths. Maybe 3 very deep breaths. Maybe an elongated exhale. Tune in to your own body and listen. When you're ready, you can gently roll over to one side and let yourself come up to seated. So from here, we're going to come into fish pose. And we're doing this in a yin way. So you might be used to this in either an active class or in a restorative class. And so this one is a little different. I'm going to show you with the blocks first, and then I will show you what it's like with the blankets. So you have a couple choices here, and this one is actually quite a lovely choice for yin. So the blocks on their kind of lowest side, both blocks. Or you might, we'll see how the neck feels as we get into it, you might have the longer one on the low side and the one for the head on a little bit of a higher side. If back bending is your thing and it's really easy for you to be in a lovely back bend for a long time and it doesn't create any kind of activating sense in the body, then you can take the blocks on the higher side or even the one in the middle on the high side and the one for the head on the lower side. But remember that we're staying here. We will stay here for probably about 3 minutes. So we want to take the posture that we can hold at about 50 to 60% to our edge, right? And so don't do this high side if that's not right for you. So before we come to lay back, I'm just going to show you with the blanket. You can take any kind of a blanket. I'll use a yoga blanket and roll it up. So keeping it at the most folded position, roll it up as if it's a sleeping bag that you're trying to get back into its case. And then leave that on the high side, leave that the long way. And then you can have 1 to 2 blankets back here for your head. And that's actually quite a lovely way to take fish. So if you have the blankets, please don't hesitate to do it that way. I've been playing with this way because it really keeps me in a really nice place for my nervous system. It's pretty interesting, even though I can do the higher side. This is a really nice place for me to be. So I'm going to stay with that today. So come to sit so that you're facing away from the blocks. Your feet are resting on the floor. And as you come to lay back, you want the bottom of this long block to be right around the bottom rib. And you might have to play a little bit with it. So one way to tell if it's right is, can you reach and touch the top of the block with your hands? And so for me, I'm going to let my hands open, palms up. This is really the wonderful thing about Yin is you really are tuning in. There's no right or wrong way. We don't really need to worry so much about perfect alignment. What we're really looking for is sensation in the body. So palms can be face up. They might be face down if that's best for you. Feet can be on the floor. They may lengthen out. You might also decide that the soles of the feet work very nicely for you. And if that creates too much stretch that doesn't feel right in the groin, you can place blocks or blankets under your knees. So finding that sense of stillness. Finding that sense of turning toward your own sensation. What do you notice right now? Be mindful of where your chin is in space. If your neck feels too arched here, please feel free to place the block that's under the head on a higher side to let your neck be in a more neutral position. Just settling in, feeling the breath. And just 2 more breaths here as you begin to awaken. Perhaps the breath deepens just a little. And when you're ready, you can let yourself come off the block. And this is one part that it's important to note about Yin, is that you will feel that echo of the posture in the body. So just stay with it for a moment. You might feel the moaning and the groaning. staying with that sensation, noticing how all on its own the echo quiets. It lets go. And now when you're ready, gently pressing up, you can take the blocks and place them aside. And this time we will take the rectangular bolster, place it the long way on the mat behind us with a blanket. Well, you may not need a blanket. I find that the blanket really allows this to be a quite comfortable position for me. Without the blanket, there's just something missing. So this is the wonderful thing about this practice. You get to decide for yourself what you need and what you don't need. So try it without the blanket and try it with the blanket and decide which one is right for you. So this posture is new to me, and as soon as it was introduced to me, I knew that I had found a new best friend. I truly love it. So I'm super excited to share it with you today because it is really wonderful. It's called Heartbed. Isn't that just a beautiful name? So this is a restful and yet, somewhat active yin posture. So come to sit at the edge of the bolster and just lay back. Soles of the feet can stay on the floor once again. Let yourself find the comfort in this posture. You don't need to stay into some deep back bend that doesn't work for you. And remember that we're coming to 50 to 60% of what our body is capable of in this posture. And that can be a really interesting internal dialogue with yourself. So just simply listen. What is the body telling you? We're going to be in this posture for about 5 minutes. And so this is why this 50 to 60% number is so important. That's a long time to stay in a posture. So being sure that you feel supported, that you feel like you can stay here. In terms of the legs, soles of the feet can stay on the floor. The legs can lengthen out. Or just as in fish pose, if it works for you, the soles of the feet can come together with the knees coming to either side. And again, you deciding for yourself if you would like propping underneath the knees. Your arms can be kind of by the sides, or they can come up to whatever height works for you. And just finding the awareness that the higher the arms are, the more back bendy this gets. So I'm taking it really mellow today. So my arms are a little closer to the sides of my legs. What is it like to be with the experience of this posture in a kind and compassionate way? What is it like to simply notice without having to move in to do anything, without having to change? And what is it like to simply breathe? Letting the breath move through the body and perhaps move into those places that are calling out to you in this posture, whatever they may be in your body. about another half a minute in this posture. Noticing how the breath feels. Noticing where in the body sensation is calling out to you. And letting the breath deepen here. If the soles of the feet aren't already on the ground, just let them come to the ground, bending the knees. And then maybe with a little moan or a groan, feeling the echo of this posture in the body coming off to the side. And we'll just stay here for about a minute. Notice how the echoes of this posture just kind of quiet over time. How the body is ever shifting and changing. How sensation is very rarely the same moment to moment. When you're ready, you can press up here. We'll come into a 2-minute Shavasana. So I'm going to take a pillow for my head, and I'm going to take the round bolster for my knees. You can feel free to place blocks under each knee, blankets under the knees. Letting yourself settle into the sense of ease in this posture. And letting go, just for this moment. Awareness of how the breath feels in the body. Awareness of sensation. Releasing all effort of holding yourself up. And now gently allowing awareness to come back to the body. Allowing the breath to deepen, inhaling, exhaling, release, and letting go. One more breath. Inhale and exhale. Gently wiggling fingers, toes, Letting the head come side to side if that feels right. When you're ready, stretching out. And then coming over to one side or the other. And just staying for a moment, once again, finding that awareness. What is sensation like now? And when you're ready, gently coming up to seated. Finding a comfortable seat, whatever that is for you today. One hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. Gently breathing into your own hands. Breathing into the space that we've made with this practice today. Notice the warmth of your own hands, your own compassion for yourself, always there with you, always available to you. Bring hands in prayer at the heart. Giving yourself gratitude for being with yourself in this way, being there to provide yourself with this moment of care. And it's my honor to be here with you. Thank you for joining me for another Sattva Sunday. It is wonderful to practice with you in this way. You can find me online at integritymindbody.com, and you can reach me by email at kristen@integritymindbody.com. Thanks so much.